Now, if y equals negative 4.9 t squared plus 50t represents the height or altitude of an object that's maybe tossed upward, if y represents the height in meters when t represents the time in seconds, then we want to use this function. And I'm going to pause a second and just rewrite that. I don't like where that negative is sitting. Okay, that just looks clear. Okay, so the first question asks, when is the height 30 meters? Okay, well, look at this, and y equals negative 4.9 t squared plus t. What is it in this equation that represents height? It's y. If you read the conditions of the problem, it's very clear that y is the height. So height 30 meters means that y is 30, so that 30 equals negative 4.9 t squared plus 50t. Now, how are we going to solve that equation? Well, that's a quadratic equation. We've got the t squared and the t and the constant term. So we're going to rearrange the equation so that everything is on one side and 0 is on the other. We do that by adding 4.9 t squared to both sides, subtracting 50t from both sides. That'll make it 0 over here and leave us with what you see on the left-hand side. So that now we write the results of the quadratic formula. And I'm not going to write all the details. I'm not going to write the formula down anymore. We've done that. You can easily write the formula down yourself and verify that since b is your coefficient of t, negative 50, it goes here, but it's negative b, so that takes care of the negative. We have 50 here, and then the b squared, of course, negative 50 squared is 2500, and then we subtract 4ac, 4 times this, which I believe, pretty sure is 588, okay? And then we divide by 2a. Well, a is 4.9, 2 times a is 9.8. Now you should, by now, be able to easily identify or verify by plugging these quantities into the quadratic formula yourself that this is what we get. Okay, well, 2500 minus 588, I believe, it's not 1922, it's 1912. Not a particularly wonderful correction, but it does make a lot of difference because I approximated the square root anyway. But let's get it right. Okay, so it's going to be 50 over 9.8 plus or minus this is this square root divided by 9.8. So 50 over 9.8 plus or minus, that's approximately 43. It's a little more than 43. But pretty close to 43. I think it's a little more than 43. Okay, so I say approximately equal to then 50 over 9.8 plus 43 over 9.8. And I'm pretty sure that 50 over 9.8 is 5.1, and 43 over 9.8 is pretty close to, it's not 4.2, is it? It's 4.4. Well, that changes things a little bit. Well, let me fix that. Okay, I've just indicated that this should be 4.4, and the result then, this should, instead of 9.3 and 0.9, should be 9.5 and 0.7. I'm not going to actually make the changes in the numbers as written here. And the reason I got 4.2, I know that dividing by 9.8 is just 2% different than dividing by 10. If I divide 43 by 10, I get 4.3, and 2% of 2.2% of 50 is 1. 2% of 43 is still pretty close to 1, but I went 1 less than 43 rather than 1 greater than 43. So if that makes any sense to you, it's kind of worth storing that away. That's a convenient type of approximation that you might make in a situation like this. Okay, anyhow, that's when the thing actually at 9.5 and 0.7 seconds, the height will be 30 meters. Now, why do we get two results? Well, after 0.7 seconds, if we want to use the right result, which is not a bad idea, the thing will have started here, and after 0.7 of a second, it'll already be 30 meters high. Okay, but then at 9.5 seconds, it's 30 meters high. How does that occur? Well, it keeps going up after it hits that 30 meters because it's moving pretty fast, and it keeps rising until it falls, and then by the time it gets back down here, about 9 seconds have elapsed. So it's going to pass the 30 meter mark at 0.7 seconds going up and at 9.5 seconds coming back down. Okay, another question. When does it strike the ground? Well, it's at the ground when y equals 0. So to find when we let y equals 0, our equation becomes 0 equals negative 4.9t squared plus 50t. And I'm going to rewrite something there because my minus signs are kind of getting lost again. Okay, I've just rewritten this and this. But okay, 0 is negative 4.9t squared plus 50t. If we factor t out of this, we get t times negative 4.9t plus 50. And the way to solve this is to factor it. You could use the quadratic formula. You have a value of a, you have a value of b. You don't have a c term, meaning that it's 0. You can plug that into the quadratic formula and go to all that trouble. But it's much easier just to do this so that we know that either t is 0, since the product of these two things is 0, one or the other has to be 0. So we know that t is 0, or negative 4.9t plus 50 is 0. T is 0, well, t is 0, or solution to this, t is about 10.2. So either t is 0 or t is approximately 10.2. The interpretation is that the thing is on the ground when you start, so y is 0, and it's on the ground when it ends, and that happens at t equals 10.2 seconds.